Yeah, slap it on.
Should start seeing it any second. I hope. Hello! Hello, everyone. Sorry. Yay for computers and networking and technology and all that frustrating stuff.
I think they've all gone.
Please come back. It was nice to talk to people. We'll let everybody come back again. Sorry, everyone, if you've arrived back already. Right. Yeah,
My Facebook feed is frozen.
It says we're live. Let me just check my phone. Let's make sure that
No,
it's...
this live video's ended.
Oh,
Right,
that
I've got
was
to
the
put
old
another
one.
one on. Oh, complicated.
Yeah, it says I'm live now. Hello! Yeah, we're definitely live. People are back. Hello! Sorry about that. Internet problems. And we're back. Yeah. The joy. Joys of technology. It's beautiful when it works, but when it doesn't, it's a right royal pain in the backside. Anyway, we were talking about the box, and in particular, I was starting to consider, and the stream is alive, yes. I was starting to talk about mesh, and in particular, black mesh. So, put this over my face.
What is that?
It's just black tool. So my wife was doing some work for her work, and she got this in, and something I'd always been interested in playing with was a very light black fabric, and to see just how good, bad, or indifferent it really was. Deja vu. Yes, Jimmy. Yeah, so just saying, I've kind of got this black. It's just black tool, cheap black tool. And I'm gonna at some point I'm gonna attach it to.
I want to hear the theory behind this.
Well, I don't think I have a theory at the moment. I don't.
Put it in the bin then.
But I
Why don't
like
you
playing
shit
with.
like that?
I like playing with stuff. I don't know whether it's going to work. I know that solid black isn't going to work, but I just have a bit of an inkling that it might do all right. Either way,
It looks like something Novrich would sell.
snake oil.
Yeah, he wouldn't have a clue how it worked either.
No, I don't think it's going to work, but I want to try it before I black mesh points. Yeah,
I'm going to save you some time and effort. It's not going to work.
I don't think it's going to. But you know, it's just nice to play. Anyway, that just happened to be in the pocket that I was about to go through and tell people what was. We talked about this bag. It comes out with me when I go out and test. I take as little amount of stuff as possible so I can achieve the outcome I want to achieve. So, things that are useful to have with you, I think, or the things that I take with me that make my life easier when I'm out there. Loads of zip ties, fairly standard. Everybody uses zip ties, don't they? Which is fair enough. Cheap pair of scissors. Cutting whatever you need to cut. Pieces of raffia, bits of whatever. Just a cheap pair of scissors. Nothing fancy. Pair of wire snips. Don't obviously cut any wire, but they are really good at cutting zip ties, so they come out with me. Just a cheap pair of them, just little ones.
And if your local woodland's been fenced off by whoever owns
Yeah.
it, you can get through.
So just a cheap pair of wire snips. Again, nothing fancy. It's for cutting through plastic, so the scissors would probably do it. These are just a bit better. So I'll take them with me. And then in here we'll then just go bits of fabric that I want to use. So that's a bit of nano screen that I've chopped up at some point. What I have got are the nano screen. Thank you, Stip.
Nano screen.
What I have got are these bits of bio wash cotton. They're really good, actually. They're not the cheapest things in the world. They are very, very good. And I need to buy some more, especially for autumn. But I got these in about, I can't remember how many different colours. It's like a red. That's really good, actually, that red. That's kind of a nano screen kind of grey. That's pretty good.
Hmm.
There's a few others as well. There was a green that I tried. Now you think this is called dark.
What's the difference between that and normal cotton for those of us who don't have fabric businesses?
Not a great deal. They're a bit duller. Is probably
Helps.
what I would say. They're not. They're certainly not as shiny. They're much more matte. Whereas with the polycottons that you'll get from eBay or Amazon or wherever you buy them from, those cheap polycottons are quite shiny because they're poly. You know they are. That they're not.
The big problem with polycotton, if anyone's going down that route, is that the plastic in it, as well as having a sheen or a shine to it, it doesn't absorb water the way that you want the cotton to absorb water to change the colour of the fabric in wet conditions. It doesn't dye very well either.
So there was a light brown that was quite good actually. Again, there was a green. Now this green, I quite liked it actually. So when I went out, I kind of noticed something. So if you talk to look over, and the reason it's halo screen. He called it halo screen because of the halo of light that it emits. Is the weight of it different than regular cotton? It's not really. It's probably a bit lighter, but it's not hugely lighter. I imagine it probably does. It'll probably soak up more water. So from that perspective, that can be a good thing. You're not going to use it in huge volumes, so that's a positive in my view. Talking about the green, Lakova does talk about the halo of light that comes from halo screen and the reason he uses it. But what I noticed when I went out doing some testing, probably this time last year, was that when those leaves fall off a tree and onto the ground, and they're in that phase of they're going from green to yellow or red or whatever colour they're changing, that halo of light disappears. So they get a green leaf begins to go matte. Don't know why. I don't know what the biology behind it is, but a green leaf seems to start to go matte.
Because
So
it doesn't have the water in to reflect it.
Yeah, I would imagine there's something about it drying out and photosynthesis and chlorophyll and all that. I'm not a biologist, or certainly not a plant biologist. I know a bit about human biology, but when it comes to plants, I'm not an expert. But I noticed that this, when you put it with just fallen leaves, say a week, 2 weeks, however old they are, I don't know. That actually it works kind of well. It's very niche, but interesting. So I've got a few other colours. One other thing that I do have, and I just take this out. This is just it's one of, so this here, I'm just going to make me a little bit bigger. So this element here started life as this. But this was this. So I take that just as a control. So I just chuck a bit on the floor not in a long strip like this. I'll cut up an element. I'll chuck it on the floor and use it as a control. So it helps me just gathers a bit more data. So that is broadly what's in there. Is the weight of it different? Well, I think I've answered that question.
Answer that one, yeah.
Yeah. So that is what's in the front of that bag. I don't think I've got anything else particularly with me. I don't take knives, just because if anybody stops you and you're on the street, don't take knives with me. I mean, I'd get away with it probably, but I don't really want to spend.
What is he thinking with the black tool? We need to know that.
So when people say there is no black in nature, I kind of agree to it to a certain element, but there is shadow, and I just wonder whether a light shadow creates more depth, but not so deep that it's so. As an example, if you look into if you're looking directly at a sniper and they've got a decent suit on and their rifle is camouflaged, if you're concentrating, what's probably the first thing that you'll see? Not movement. For
Oh, I
me,
forget that I'm the only one with a microphone here.
sorry. So the first thing you'll see, in my
It's not a
view,
classroom.
is the ring of the
Scope.
scope.
Yeah.
So that's a very dark shadow. That's a very it's a positive space element, isn't it? Face and eye pro, yeah. It's excuse me.
I get where this is going. So
So
if you've got a typical leaf suit user, it's flat materials on a flat surface.
yep,
Even if there's a little bit of 3D, they're quite flat. So it's
yep,
to try and create depth behind that. So
yep.
are you saying that when you get your Halo screen, here's some I was playing with a couple of days ago, and you put your black underneath, you're going to cast a shadow almost onto the
Possibly,
material?
yeah. And I've also wondered about just applying it just in the same way that you would apply Halo screen. So is a dark 3D element any good? And I don't know the answer to that.
Positive or negative?
It would. See, this is where we start to get a bit deep. I would say that
If you go
shadows.
positive,
Well, I would say that as a rule of thumb, shadows are positive because they've got a distinct outline and they are black. Whereas this, I mean, it's so thin you can't,
yeah.
you can't even see it. I wonder, do you manage to achieve some kind of negative space black? And that, I'm going to
I
hazard a
think
guess and say no, but it's something I want to try because it's so thin and it's so the ability, it lets so much light through. I just wonder whether it will work. I don't know.
I think a positive space black, like on the DPM that I've got here,
Mm-hmm.
would be too distinguishable,
Yeah,
too visible.
but then,
Hmm.
but then,
But
most
shadows aren't necessarily black. Shadows are just a darkening of a color. They're not always black.
true.
So in a way, your negative space there is going to darken the color of whatever it's in front of, rather than create an all-out black shape. It's an interesting theory.
I don't have a at the moment. I haven't theorized that it'll work one way or the other because I just don't know. I've never
But nobody's
seen it.
done it.
Yeah, I've never seen it tried, and I've not yet tried it myself because it was only, let's say, 2 weeks ago that I got my hands on it. So I haven't tested it. It might be the absolute worst thing that anybody's ever put on a ghillie suit. It might be an absolute revolution, and I'll sell billions of dollars to the American
I
government.
don't think it'll be the worst thing, because I've seen that Norwich mesh pack. And I'd be surprised if that didn't have stupid colours like black and probably bright red in it.
Yeah. Well, we all know that they.
Mm.
Dan's got some black tool. Dan, are you using that black tool? And does it work? Or is it just rubbish? I don't know. Anyway, the moral of the story is it's a bag to test stuff. That's one thing that I've definitely got to test. So that is the beginning of box number 1.
Christ, we've got 4 boxes in.
Never seen it.
We're an hour in.
Well, yeah, but we had a few minutes down. No, we're 43 minutes in. And the next few...
We'll call it 35 with technical difficulties, and then there was about 6 minutes of running at the start. So
box number 2, brutally honest, isn't that interesting. It's just a couple of bags. I got these just as a very quick point, and I'll whistle through this this box. But I got these mesh bags from what's the company that you can't order anything from anymore because they don't?
Taiwan gun.
Taiwan Gun.
Yes.
I got these nice mesh, but they're 8 fields bags. They were dead cheap. They're dead useful. If you just need to put your crafting stuff in it, separate your colours of Halo screen. They're really useful. They were dead cheap. They won't be dead cheap anymore because Brexit, yay. But I would recommend getting something to split out your different colours so when you're in the field, you're not faffing around. That is my suggestion. So the rest of this is, if I'm honest, stuff that you don't really need to worry about. A couple of pairs of goggles, some battery charging. So I'm not going to go through that one because there's not really anything very interesting unless anybody's got any questions. So I'm going to rattle through that one and ignore it. Oh, there is a bike seat because why not? Dan Tuna probably like that one. Dan Tuna bought a nice bike seat with it though, which is why that one is in there, because I've got nowhere else to put bag stuff. So, moving swiftly on to box number 2, and this is where it starts to become considerably more interesting. Not that that first one wasn't interesting, number 2 wasn't, but this is where we start to get into the long grass, as you might say. So in here are kind of base fabrics, I would say. What's the bike? It's a Boardman Team Carbon, but I won't get into it now. So this is a box of base fabrics. So for those who have been watching any of my stuff for the last... When did I make my suit? 5,
I remember
6
following
years.
your ass around in it for a while.
Yeah.
2017, 2016.
Quite a while ago.
You're
So,
older than you think.
I am. So for anybody who's been around that long, like Stip, I am semi-handy with a sewing machine. I'm very lucky that I've got a wife who is very, very handy with a sewing machine, who is able to pass on that knowledge to me. And she's also has I'm kind of morphing her into a camouflage fabrics expert. She's really pointed me in the right direction of a few things, to the point where I can go and find it myself now, which is very good. But anyway, so this box is an evolution, I would say, of the Point6 channel and my work that I've shown to other people to try and help them. So in the very, very early days, I bought this, and I'm just going to make me a bit bigger. There we go. So I bought this, which is...
Fine, I don't mind.
Sorry, Stip. So people can see it, is a leaf hide. It's back in the day, so most people will probably look at this and go, "Oh God, that's a bit old school," and what have you. But in the Friday Night Live era, if anybody ever watched that, we had fairly few decent options out there in terms of robust leaf suits, as we were all using at that point, because we were kind of the people who held the limelight at that point were telling us it was the best thing since sliced bread. I think we're kind of moving on from now, but so at that point in time, you had MFH, you had Jack Pike, which weren't terrible, but were made of Swiss cheese, so people were gluing them and taping
The
them.
MFH one was, to be fair.
They were just dreadful. North Mountain Gear came out eventually, and they were a bit of a pioneer, really. And you could say that North Mountain Gear, in the airsoft world, are probably the first producers, or the first mass producers, of a robust leaf suit. They were made of good base fabric. When I say good base fabric, as in the quality of the fabric was good. And then, others came out with other bits and bobs. But I decided that I wanted to make my own. The North Mountain Gear ones were quite thick, so I decided to make my own. And I found this leaf suit. I found this leaf hide. It was massive, about 3 by 8 meters, so a lot of fabric. And this is a bit of it. If you remember the North Mountain Gear fabric, this is the North Mountain Gear fabric. It's the same pattern, but on a thinner base layer. And this base, I've still got the base to this day, and sometimes it comes out in very specific circumstances, because it works in some very specific circumstances. But I've still got it, and bar literally the odd hole, it's still rock solid. It's been really good, actually. So this is the kind of evolution of the Point6 channel and the Point6 suits. So this is where we started. Jimmy's got a North Mountain gear, not just warm, yeah, and that was it. I like a lighter weight suit all year round, winter or summer. It's just personal preference. So that was that. This is part of the original fabric that we've got there. So what else you'll see in here are these are the patterns for the suit that I made and the suits that I am in the process of making. I've not made much progress recently, but patterns you can get these off eBay. If anybody's handy with a sewing machine, these are £5 probably on eBay. Just got to find the right one that suits you. Mine actually is a pair of pajamas. And it's that good. Perfect.
I love the picture on that. That's so like and 1980s.
It's so weird, but if you buy a new pattern that's been created today, they still look like this. It's bizarre. The world's not moved on. But if you're handy with a suit, your mum, your dad, your auntie, your uncle, your brother, your sister, they're dead cheap. So that's kind of the base upon which I now build stuff. And I've been, myself and Stip went through a bit of an era of trying to get fabrics. So I ordered both Stip and myself some fabrics from AliExpress that I like the look of. And on 2 separate occasions, they sent me this leaf hide. It's an ECR, I think they call them in French. It's just
the Chinese camo, isn't it? The PLA winter or similar.
I liked the base pattern, but they sent this, so I actually have this. Is 1.5 by 5 meters, so it's pretty big. So I mean, I don't.
It's just finding use for it at the minute. But it's just so heavily polyester.
It's complete plastic, complete and utter plastic. So it's not great. It sits in the box. Being realistic, I'm never going to sell it. So
I might use it as a tent cover.
Yeah, this arrived, but this is what, so you can see the difference between these two in terms of colour and quality. This was supposed to be this. So this is, obviously this is meant to be a autumn winter type of suit. It, for all intents and purposes, let's call it winter Marpat. The story of this is quite interesting, really. So I'm not going to take it out because again, it's a big sheet. I think this is 1.5 by 5 as well. It's a big sheet of fabric. The colours are really nice, and they probably don't come through wonderfully on the stream here, but when we started to talk to the Covert Sartorialists 2 years ago, Stip certainly kind of cottoned on to the fact that he, and not like many, were using grey. So I've kind of looked at this and said, well, this colour here, and again, I apologise, it's maybe it does come out all right. But
not far off.
This colour in here, it's not grey. It's like a grey-brown. It's really good. It's really good. Then you've got some kind of...
It's 70-13, Dan. For those in the know.
Oh, you took him RAL?
Yeah.
So it's very, very good. This brown here is... I don't know. Call it a bark brown. I know bark is a very wide term, but it's a nice colour. And then you've got some black, which again isn't too heavy. Andrew Sturglass, hello.
To be honest, the that stuff that you sent to me is what formed the base of my backpack cover and my scope cover because the colours were just that good. The mesh itself is a little bit flimsy.
Yeah.
But it works, and I'd probably do a lot more with it, to be honest. I think the Chinese have got a really good pattern in the colour there, using the grey, the brown, and the black, rather than, we rely heavily on tans and greens, dark greens.
Yeah.
But I think for most especially if you play off the ground, which I do, playing prone. If you want to merge into the ground, that is a really good base to have, and I don't think it costs too much, did it?
It was dead cheap. I want to.
Mm.
Maybe we spent, like I said,
AliExpress.
AliExpress. Yeah. I think this. Can't remember how much we bought. Maybe 2 by 3 meters. I can't remember. Quite.
If you wanted more, it is the Chinese Army's arid pattern.
It's very
so,
good.
Yeah,
very good.
It is copied. Wish will do it. AliExpress will do it. They do the jackets, the pants, and everything, and the colours are fantastic on it. Personally, I'm not too keen on digital patterns. I don't like them as much as I do the organic ones, but the colours are fantastic.
I think you found Stip. The only thing, the pattern is excellent. The colours are excellent. It seems that the fabric maybe is not the most robust thing on.
That's why I've never used it as a suit or anything like that. It's just accessory covers and things because it works so well. It does sort of match the suit that I've made anyway.
Yeah. See, I had intended to make this into a suit, and I probably will still do one day, accepting that it might just turn into Swiss cheese and rip.
Don't use it on your pants.
The sniff of a bramble.
Mm.
So that's what that was. Again, not expensive, but a good pattern. And then everybody knows and loves Marpat. Who doesn't love a bit of Marpat? Eh? This fabric's fabulous. This is the next suit that is currently in development, and it's probably going to come out next summer now. If I'm with myself. I see this more as a summer. I mean, you can use it in the winter. I see it more of a summery pattern.
Comment there from Jimmy. If I can just pick that one out. Grace browns are very underrated. What we found in the UK with the North Mountain suits was that they did come across as like quite a silvery grey colour, and there was a lot of grey, and a lot of people didn't like that, and they ended up getting the dye poly out, and they dyed it a dark chocolate brown, which was horrific. But yeah, Jimmy, I'd be interested to hear what you think about the North Mountain suit just as it is, the base colour. It was too silver for the European for us, but I don't know whether it works better in the US.
Yeah. That grey is good in dry autumn and winter. When the leaves are bone dry, that top layer, brilliant. Really, really good. Really good. And I'm not sure I've completely nailed that colour yet. I think your league's ahead of me on that one, Stip.
You finally put that back in the drawer. Anyone who's in the chat who isn't 282, raise your hand.
I'll let people raise their hands. So that's in the drawer. So this is the kind of the base fabrics drawer with a couple of exceptions. A Vortex box, some lube just to keep the rifle running nice and smoothly. I'm not going to get it out because it's buried in the bottom, but a barrel. And again, more zip ties. I've got more zip ties than I could possibly know what to do with. And now I can't get everything back in the box.
I was having a chat with Andrew Sternglass about that earlier, and he recommended the zip ties as opposed to glue. It holds it better, but it means that if you want to change it, you can. You just snip the zip tie off and you can move your fabrics around, and that allows you to experiment without ballsing it up using a glue gun or that stupid shoe glue.
Yeah.
The shoe glue's horrific, by the way. It all drops off.
And also, I
think YouTubers use it.
That's my biggest issue with shoe glue and its other alternatives, that's the word I'm looking for, is that on the box it says this product will give you cancer. So
I think it's an American thing where they've got to cover the backs for everything, just in case.
It says
and then it's with a warning on.
It says it's a carcinogen, so that shit ain't going anywhere near me.
I mean, so's the dickhead who recommended it on the videos, to be fair. But yeah,
we'll move on from that one swiftly. Totally switched to nothing but zip ties. Yeah. Zip ties can just be a bit of a pain in the arse. Make a better 3D effect. Yeah. They just take so much time. But then maybe they're quicker than the alternatives. The other
But
alternative,
it's better than waiting for it to dry, though, isn't it? Because
True.
once you've tied that on, it's on.
it's not going anywhere.
No.
I mean, everything
And
on
I've
my
still got loads of empty zip ties on my suit, but
yeah.
happens.
So,
how then? Is this the top box?
This is the top
because I
box.
recognise the Sealy bag there with the 3 white stripes on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What does it say? Oh, it's not got his name on this one. So, this is the
Mine's autographed.
You noob. So, I mentioned it earlier, but these are the same bags that I recommended earlier. I mean, you don't have to necessarily buy these, but I would strongly recommend splitting the different colours of fabric that you have, especially when you're in the field. They'll blow around. It'll be a right pain in the arse. I've been there. I've tested it. I've tried it. You're not at that point yet, but you want to get to it. I would strongly recommend getting some bags to split stuff out. I promise you, it will make your life easier. I mean, they don't have to be like these. They don't have to be big bags, you know. So just to say that this is in
Was
essence,
that part of the set?
yeah.
That little one.
So they basically come in a really big, a medium, and a little, and then just stuff it in, and off you go. And then you just these are all pre-cut, so I've pre-cut all these elements. Some big, some little, some medium. Do whatever you see fit, and then just, they're ready to go straight onto your suit when you're in the field. Like I say, you can zip them up; they don't fly away. You can attach them to stuff. You do 1,000 things with them. Really good. And like I say, if they were a fiver, but Brexit, if you live in the UK, probably more.
30 quid now.
Yeah.
There'll be alternatives. There'll be stuff out there.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's
it's just a bag. It's just a series of it's like Russian dolls. Just my strong recommendation. So, but obviously these are full Halo screen.
How many packs have you got of Halo screen?
Lots.
Wow.
Is the answer to that one.
I know a lot of people say about it that it's expensive, but I think for the amount that you get and how much you can cover with it, it's worth it. Especially if you keep your
let me do some.
For us in the UK, I think $39.95 from skirmshop.co.uk. Not that I've memorised that in advance, but yeah.
Skirmshop UK.
Mm-hmm. The Covert Halo Screen Starter Pack, or it might be that you get in touch direct. Then you might be able to pick it up for £6 a sheet.
£6 a sheet?
£6 a sheet, 1.5 metre by 1 metre. And you can do a lot with that. And you can pick your own colours.
So currently on Halo Screen UK, on Skirmshop UK, and there are other places that will sell this to you, but Skirmshop. It is $41.95 for a metre and a half length by half metre wide of 4 colours: canopy, alpage, tropic, tree line.
Dark tree line.
It just says tree line on their website.
I need some of that.
I forget.
That's the stuff he sold out of.
And 500 zip ties for $41.95.
Good deal.
Yeah, I mean,
I have to say though, if you think about buying BDUs or you're just using something that you've already got in your house, to pay what we're calling it £40 there for a Halo Screen Starter Pack, which will do most of your suit.
Oh,
when
easy.
you buy a couple of sheets of cheap cotton, you dye them yourself using tea and coffee. It's a lot less than paying £300 for a leaf suit, which doesn't work.
Absolutely. Come to that. We'll come to that very point in a minute, I think. What time are we on? It's 10 o'clock. So, that is just full of Halo screen. And again, I can't recommend it. I'm sure everybody's using it, but if you're not using it, buy some. It's revolution. In my view, it's revolutionised what we do. There are other people trying to sell their offshoots. I don't often call people out. In fact, I'm not going to call people out because I don't want to bring this down, but it really frustrates me that those people who believe that they have been wronged by people copying their products then are quite happy to go and do exactly the same. And that is all that I shall say on that matter, because we're moving on to some really interesting stuff. And that, nano screen, woo! I like this, and it's all over this item that is here. So this is nano. It's great. It is a bit reflectant, shall we call it? Let's use let's use Lecovert's terminology. It is quite.
But that's the idea.
It is, and I'm not sure in massive volumes that is necessarily the way forward. So I don't use it exclusively on my suits. I use it.
Yeah, I don't know whether that works properly on the camera there. But different lighted angles reflect differently onto the fabric.
Yeah.
As a negative space material, and as you pointed out before about leaves or dead leaves returning to a matte colour, matte finish, you probably don't need that effect. Although it does add a lot to the suit in terms of different shades, different colours, using only the two that he supplies, which are the grey and the brown.
Yeah. I've just seen, and who was it? It was Jimmy's question. Jimmy, will a starter pack sort out a beat? Absolutely, 100% yes. You'll get through 2 at least with a pack of starter. There's a lot of fabric in there, a lot, and you don't need to go. You don't need an individual 3D element on every square inch of your suit. Again, it's a story for another day. But Lakova says let your 2D breathe. So give it some space, give it some opportunity to work. If you buy a good 2D pattern, so let's talk Mimtech here. If you don't follow Mimtech, you should do. He is, in my view, the kind of master of the 2D. He clearly has contracts with military organisations dotted around the world, along with law enforcement. It's unbelievable how good just his 2D is. But just talking about stuff that we all have access to. So that's, in the grand scheme of things, it's quite expensive, but you get lots of features. You get all the IR stuff that, to me, I don't care about that. Because I don't play in an environment where it matters. He is working in an environment where that matters. So you can just go out and buy a DPM, like Stip, you showed us your trousers or whatever you've got on the desk on the drawers there. Buy them for next to nothing, and it's a good pattern that has been developed by military organisations kind of across Europe, with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds poured into it. And if you're buying like military surplus, you're probably getting the benefit of that IR stuff built in as well. You know, you can buy a DPM top and trousers for £20. It's no money. It's fabulous. So
I think as long as you match the base colours there, but in terms of coverage, all you're trying to do is break up the flat 2D plane, that flat surface, by giving it some 3D.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be 100% because you end up with a carpet effect where you've put that much on that it becomes 2D again.
Exactly,
and that brings the shape back, especially with uniform.
And that's what you will see a lot of. The things that get thumbs up on, this is my personal opinion, but the things that get thumbs up on Facebook groups and YouTube channels and the likes are you've put 1,000 individual elements on your top, therefore it must be good. And to your point, Stip, that in my view, no, it isn't, and yours clearly too, Stip, that you go from 2D, you put some 3D on, and you get a 3D suit, but you keep adding, and you get a slightly deeper 2D suit. So, it's but it is
there was a guy in one of the groups who posted that he put 6,000 leaves on his suit. But again, it gets to the point where you get that flat shape again because you've not disrupted, you've just covered it.
Yeah. Andrew Sternglass has got many elements. I mean, see, the thing is, Andrew, I would say that you are probably unique in that you have played with it enough, you understand it well enough that you can apply that stuff, like you say, in with finer grain control, and you can achieve something. I would say that, I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm not standing here saying that everything I have ever done is brilliant, because it isn't, and nobody can claim that. It's iterative. You start with a pile of turd, and you get to the point where you have something that you are quite proud of, and it works. And you test and you try and you fail and you, yeah.
And you test again.
And you test again. And
And you test
eventually,
at 5, 10, 20, and 40.
and eventually you get to the point, if we go back to box number 1, and that boonie hat, it works. And then you've got to apply that on at scale. So anyway, moving on. 2 different colours of, in box number 1, 2 different, or box number 4, depending on which way you look at it, 2 colours of nano. Fabulous. I think used in, what's the right word? Used sparingly. I haven't used masses of it on my suit, but it's definitely on there because it definitely serves a purpose. Another thing
sparingly and in conjunction with?
Sorry, just say that again. I missed you.
Sparingly and in conjunction with something else.
Both of those points. So definitely used sparingly and used in conjunction with cottons. And another item I'm going to come to in this bag in a second. In fact, we'll do it now. So I use a variety of. So green. I'm going to say all my green is halo. I think it is. There might be the odd green leaf on there. But predominantly 99% of my suits, are green halo. But the browns, or the non-green, is probably the best way to put it. I have a variety of types of fabric, all applied and sized similarly, but used for different reasons. So we've talked about nano, which I used. We've talked very briefly. Oh, no, we haven't talked very briefly, but if you remember on here, these are just some dyed pieces of cotton fabric. So I've got those. But then and Stip, you've already given me the finger for using these, but when the evolution of leaf suits came about, we were all is that another finger? I didn't see. We were all about dyeing Chinese leaves. That's what we did. That's what I did. We had the Chinese leaves. We had sneaky leaves, which we used. They were expensive, but we used them. We thought they were good. They clearly aren't. So there were some reds that were, even back in the day, the reds were universally disliked. And I got hold of a bag. I don't know where they came from. Somebody must have had some kind of event, and I got a bin bag full of those maple leaves. And I mean full to the brim. There were thousands of them. So I decided with iDye poly that I cooked up a load of greens and a load of the reds. And to this day, I still use the reds. Still like, so Darren Gibbons, it's controversial, but I still like and use it. Ooh, that is controversial. Stip, I'll have you. I'm going, but on that same note,
To be fair, we can maybe bring that in the next live show because it's an interesting point I'd like to make about that, but I'll do it on a separate one.
so I have. So let me just. This is a very dark. This was, if you remember we're talking bright red leaves here. This was a bright red leaf, dyed with iodide poly brown, and I don't apply them. I need a white piece of paper. It's really hard for you to see. I don't apply them flat. You know, they don't hold this shape on any piece of my kit. They do not hold this shape. So, find some here. So this, and if again I go back to the video as evidence of this, that this here, all these elements on the top, and I'm just going to make the screen a tad bit. All these elements on the top, this, this, these, this, they are all those leaves, but kind of scrunched up into a random shape because they've got a jaggedy edge. If you take the leaf shape out of them, they're not horrendous. So I do use those quite a lot actually. There's a decent chunk of my suit is covered in these and will continue to be applied to elements of my suits, hats, veils, boonies, basically anything, gloves, rifle camo. What else to be camo? Anything else that needs covering with a brown element. I am of the reds. I dye polyed brown. They just bring something different, and I really like them. So I have a bag of these. Again, in a net bag, quick access, so they don't blow away. Excuse me. So they don't blow away. They're all different shades. So what I do with these, if you ever want to get to the point where you want to try this, is if you boil them. Well, so they're crinkly to start with. Boil them. Takes the starch out. They lose their crinkle, and then dye them. Again, you get some starch removal. But put them in at different periods of time. That is a good principle that Phil Osborne was the pioneer of. Who Phil doesn't do a lot of airsoft stuff anymore, but he was known as Nornick. He did the mag, the MK23 mag mods and so on and so forth. But he was the original dyer of leaves with acrylic inks and blah blah blah. But yeah, the principle was that, let's say you've got 500 leaves in red, you put 100 in, from the start. You put 100 in after a minute, or varying time periods, and you get different depths of color and variation, which is what you're after ultimately. So anyway, they are, in my view, fabulous, and I use them and will continue to use them because I'm a big fan. So that's what they are.
But does that just replace dark brown as your positive space material on your suit?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But again, it's used in combination with other things. So the halo, some regular cottons. I think I've got more work to do on regular cottons. I think Ed Donaldson, his browns seem to be as good as any. I'm not his biggest fan. I used to be his biggest fan, but I'm not anymore. But give him credit where credit is due. His browns are good. Not convinced about his other dealings, but there we go. Also in this box it's still Halo screen, but these were very kindly sent to me by the Covert Sartorialist a little while ago, and these are some of the of the pre-cut elements that he has. But, I mean, they work brilliantly. I have nothing in terms of application and success. There we go. So is that your own cut?
Yes, because he sent some pre-cut ones out for me as well. But the problem I've got with them, I believe it's Sprinter Custom in Poland that are making them and
Yeah.
cutting them. The problem you've got there is you end up with elements of exactly the same size, shape, and cut. So once applied to the suit, you don't get the same depth. You start going back to the leaf suit issues, where it's uniform. It's far too uniform.
That is true. Now, what I do with them is I find them a bit long, so I cut them in half. But you still get something very similar.
I think if you use, there's some holes that he's pre-lasered into them.
Yeah.
If you use those, you pull it tight enough. It is small enough.
So you can,
But yeah, is there 4?
there's loads. This is, I think, have I cut this one in half? I'm not sure whether this. No, this isn't in half.
No, it's full length one.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5. There's 5 laser cut or laser. I don't know. Let's call it laser cuts because I can't think of the right word. Laser burnt holes, and basically you get a zip tie, you run it through, you squish it together, and it creates it does work. I haven't.
It works. I think if you were on deployment, then that is a great way to camo it up quite quickly.
Yeah.
Get the idea behind that. I just feel that it's a bit too uniform, and I think he's probably better off going back to the sheets rather than laser cut elements.
Yeah.
Because that allows you to fine tune it.
Yeah, I would also say that because of the work that goes into doing this, it takes a human being to feed fabric through a machine, so there is an additional cost. I'm not entirely convinced that the cost is worth it in our application. I can see where you're going, Stip. If you are a military unit,
real world, yeah,
and speed is more important than cost. Absolutely. Or if you are an airsoft player who is cash rich but time poor, then I would say go ahead. Don't hold back.
I don't think it's so much a cost issue. I think if you took 3 people here, maybe myself, Andrew Sternglass, and Jimmy using on chat, we've probably got different environments. We would probably have different needs for different sizes and shapes from that.
Yeah.
I don't think you can apply that in a universal sort of laser cut pattern.
I mean, they are expensive. They are expensive comparatively.
I've not seen them as a set. I don't know where you get them from.
They were. I want to say in the hundreds of euros for equivalent volumes of fabric. Again, a human's got to feed them through a machine, and you're paying for the development of the pattern. I believe the way it's cut. I believe he's got a patent on the I don't know what the right word is on the cut. Anyway, so more Halo screens, but as we've talked about, laser cut, interesting. Not sure I'd buy them, but nice to play with. Shed loads of raffia. I'm not going to go into that, but we all know what raffia is. So there's loads of that. I got it cheap. One Easter. If you're running out of raffia. Easter is always a good time to get more raffia. Easter is a good time to get raffia. Just a bit of Hessian because I do use it. I don't use it in in multiple strings, but you can see different bits here. So it does get used sparingly. As you can see, it's a very small piece, but it does get used sparingly. So it's good to have. This is just some sisal. It's a slightly thicker strands than you get with this that I like. It's a good kind of branch thickness, thin branch obviously, but branch nonetheless, which I use again sparingly, but it does get used. Nice positive space element. That is just the you remember the cream elements on my boonie hat. That's just what they were. I got them from a charity shop here in the UK, and they were £2. How many strips are on here? Lots. Approximately 100. I probably get, say, let's say 4 elements out of each one of these. So let's say there's 450 3D elements in one pack. So it was a good deal. It obviously needs dyeing to whatever colour you desire, but they were a good buy. Like I said, just happened to find them in a charity shop, so I can't give you a link. More bags again. Have
If you pull
raffias
it
in
back
them.
to the laser cut Halo screen I've just found, Skirm Shop UK have got it on 85.95 for the
Yeah,
laser cut set.
yeah. So that, let's call it double, basically.
Yeah.
This is just some dyed raffia. So if you can, it might not show the. So tea, not tea. Tea and coffee rather, not tea. Strongly recommend that you dye your raffia tea and coffee. It's much better, in my view. And then some green raffia that, if I'm honest, I don't really like it. I've done it, but I'm not very pleased with it, so hence there's absolutely shed loads of it left. Because I've not used it. And broadly, that is the box, that is the drawers. That is an overview of what I have kept. The reason this live show came about was twofold. Number one, we've not done one for ages, and I enjoy doing them, and I hope people get some value out of them. But I have whittled this down. I have sold hundreds and hundreds of green leaves. I have got rid of just countless bits of stuff that I just end up cluttering your bags and your boxes and all that jazz. So,
I think we should get back to it.
it's, I mean, yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I haven't been able to do this is my PC was broken for a little while, so it is, the internet's not necessarily fixed, as has been proven this evening, but the computer's working, so I intend to do some more, and Step, I'm sure you'll join me, or we'll do some on your channel, or we'll do some on Sniperworks, or we'll do some somewhere, wherever we find a home.
Do I have a choice?
Wherever I have a home. Do you have a choice? You've always got a choice, Step.
Yeah, I'll be on. Definitely.
It's not a dictatorship. Or at least I hope it's not a dictatorship. Yeah. So I think that is it from me. We've taken but say an hour and a quarter, so I think we've done quite well there. Does anybody have comments, questions, things that they would like to tell us, to ask us, to inform the other people who are here with us this evening? It's nice to see lots of people as well. We've had 15, 20 people at some points. I've got my little ticker on Facebook, so it's nice to see lots of people. We used to be up at 40s when we had the covert, but we used to tick along at 15, 20. It's lovely to see loads of people. It's great. So yeah, does anybody?
It's a bit of a random one, but I think we could do a full series on together.
Yeah. What I was hoping with this was to say hello again, to give people an idea of some of the crap that's in my boxes and the reasons I've got rid of some stuff and I use some stuff and I don't use other things. And then just to give us a platform to kick off and say hello and maybe get some more people. I used to really enjoy when we used to have guests on. Good fun. Because people bring variety and difference, and they don't agree with the way that I do things, and that is only positive because
I have a cunning plan.
Huh?
I have a cunning plan.
You've got I like cunning plan.
You
want to tell us the cunning plan now, or is it that's the look of no, he's not telling us.
Sorry, Dan keeps talking about HPA, it's distracting.
Dan, I love an HPA.
Shut up. next Saturday.
Next Saturday.
Should we do another one?
I won't be around Saturday. But
oh no, you can't just drop this on me that you just expect me to come on like at 1 day's notice, and you're not available with a week's notice. That's not how it works.
I'm otherwise engaged next Saturday night, but Sunday night has definitely got potential. But we'll see.
I'm on a stag do next Saturday, actually.
Well, you can't expect me to just drop everything. Yeah. Everyone needs an M4 and a breaching kit. Everyone needs a big red key. If anybody knows what a big red key is, please put it in the chat now. Go, go, go. If you don't know what a big red key is, Google it. I promise you won't get any things that your mum or your wife or significant other will tell you off for searching. Big red key. Go, go, go. 50 internet points to the person who figures it out first. Dan Toon, what
Can I
point
blurt
six?
out the answer?
Huh?
Can I blurt out the answer?
No, you've got to let the chat do it. You don't get any internet points. Dan Toon, what .6 needs is a good HPA VSR 10. I have flirted with the idea of an HPA VSR 10 for a long time. I love my MTW. It's unreal how good that thing is. So to give people a bit of the backstory, I also love the MK23, and which of us don't love the MK23? But in equal measures, I absolutely hate the MK23 because the mags are just the worst things in the whole world. I just can never get them to work. Either the feed lips are broken, or they've got a micron of plastic on the right hand side that means it just doesn't feed. And then you file that micron of plastic with the finest razor blade that you can find. That you've got a sharpening stone and you've whittled away. You've got polishes and 2,000 grit sandpaper and then you file that micron of plastic down and then you put it all back together and it still doesn't fucking fire. So where this story was going was that I was going to buy a carbine kit for the MK23. For a long time, the sites that I played at dictated that close range play was the order of the day. So I got to the point where I was just carrying a VSR 10 around because I couldn't actually use it anywhere. So for those in the UK who've played at the FOB that is shut now, which is massively sad news. It was such a good site. But there were lots of sites around. So anyway, the MTW filled that gap. It feeds flawlessly. It is silent. It's fabulous. The line isn't as big. It isn't a pain in the arse. I thought it was going to be awful. It isn't a pain in the arse, which is good news. Tank would last me a month because I use it like I would use an MK23. I am not full auto in everywhere. It's 1, 1, 1. That's how I play. So the moral of the story is I kind of would fancy an HPA VSR 10. Daniel's is fab. It's silent. It fires miles. And I think Stipp will probably agree with this, is the beauty of the VSR. No, you will agree with this in a second. The beauty of a non-VSR 10 is that that you can take it to a game and you can pull that the bolt handle back, you can push it forward, you pull the trigger, and it just fires. It's dead easy. You don't have to faff with, but I know not everything needs a battery, I don't think, the HPA stuff. But you've not got to faff with batteries. You've not got to worry about solenoids. You've not got to worry about any of that, any of the other stuff. Now, to be fair to my MTW, I've had it ages and it's not broken ever, but it will do one day, and it'll be a right pain in the arse.
I think that's still the advantage with spring is if you're going to put yourself into a 5-day milsim somewhere, the biggest airsoft event you could possibly imagine. I would go to one of them, and I plan to. But I wouldn't want to have to worry about refilling air, refilling green gas, charging batteries or anything like that. If I'm out there as a sniper, I'm out there. Yeah. And I'm going to stay out there, and I'm not going to have to worry about refills.
Yeah.
And the spring will just work and work and work. And on top of that, as much as people like the Mark 23 and YouTubers love the Mark 23, it's very dependent on the weather as well. Yeah. You get a different behaviour in different weathers.
True.
You get different behaviour as it warms up during the course of the day as well, but nobody ever talks about that. it's just inconsistent. Spring will just give you the same shot every single time, day, night, wind, rain, snow, whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, a mechanical VSR 10 is, and the beauty of it as well with one, two, let's say 5 screws and an
five
Allen
screws,
key.
two screws.
It's so if you take 5 screws out of a VSR 10 or an Allen bolt, you basically, I don't know what you've got.
Out there, I think it's two
Well,
screws,
yeah, but
isn't
I'm
it?
talking
And
about
it's
hot.
on a track.
I'm talking about hot chambers and stuff. Those two plus a few in your hop chamber, and basically you can strip and service. And I've done this. Yeah, strip and service a VSR 10 in. You can certainly strip it down in, if you know what you're doing, in 10 minutes. Probably not even 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
Mm.
You can service it, assuming you've got the parts on you, and realistically, what's going to break? A hot rubber might rip. You might not have a very good seal, so you need some PTFE tape on it. What else is going to break? Yeah, your trigger box could go, but if you're using 90 degrees and you've paid if you've got a Springer Custom Works, if you've got if you've got anything that's aftermarket and is relatively decent, and I don't think there is any Swiss cheese 90-degree triggers out there that I can think of off the top of my head. I've had one since 2010.
You're talking there, the problems with the rifle might be a booking issue or a sealing issue. If you were at one of these big events, you could carry a toolkit in a very small bag
Oh yeah,
that would replace all those issues in one go. A bit of
Ah,
PDFE tape, a couple of spare bookings, and a couple of Allen keys,
absolutely.
and that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, that's your repair kit.
yeah. You're done in half an hour, and that's
You're not
kind of
going to have
in.
to go and plug your lipo in. You're not going to have to go and find a diving tank somewhere on site to get a refill. You just keep going.
Yeah,
And Dan's saying there he disagrees with the spring rifle consistency. Dan would know better. He's the team's tech expert,
yeah.
but you've still got the issue of refills.
Jon Snow. Jon Snow wins the big red key. But Jon Snow, I think you might have cheated because you get to use big red keys. I used to use the big red keys. Not anymore, thankfully.
John knows big red keys.
Does he?
Mm.
So yeah, for me, an HPA VSR 10 would be a nice toy to play with, and I if I wouldn't say no if somebody gave me one.
Why can we never do a live show about camouflage without coming on to guns at some point?
I don't know. I was filling time, just seeing if people got questions. And
Yeah.
everybody wants to talk about guns. We shoot guns. Fun.
Damn, done with mine. It's finished. It's done. Modify, fixed it.
Right, I am. Stip, have you got anything else that you really want to delve deep into?
No, I need the toilet.
You need the toilet. Does anybody? I'm just going through this. Lots of disagreement with you, Stip, from Dan Toon. Move one bolt fixes all issues. Yeah, Dan. Dan, we need actually.
Let's have a rifle live with Dan, we'll talk about all things rifle.
I was going to say exactly that. Dan, you've just signed yourself up to a live stream, mate. So, anyway, listen, we've done an hour and a quarter, an hour and a half ish, somewhere between there. It's been excellent to be back. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you very much for joining us, Stip. Thank you very much for, as I usually do with these things.
I was half of it.
What I usually do to Stip is say, do you fancy an impromptu live in 7.5 minutes? And Stip usually kind of runs with it and comes and sorts it all out.
Let's just go to the fridge and grab a couple of beers.
Yeah. So it's been fabulous to be back. It's been fabulous to chat. Thank you to the, 15 or so individuals who have come and said hello. It's been really nice to see everybody. So I'm going to knock it on the head there, unless anybody has any other burning questions. He's even gelled his hair for this one. It's just the kind of guy he is.
Oh, this is natural by now.
You just got out of bed. Is that what happens?
Yeah.
Cool. Right, chaps, thank you very much. I don't think there have been any ladies. I've not seen Drew. She's usually the only lady who drops in. Yeah, it's been lovely, and I will speak to you all another day. Next weekend, maybe. See. Thank you very much. Toodles. Bye.